Our next speaker is Dean Wehrli. He has a PhD from UCLA, and he works for John Burns Real Estate Consulting. And I'm very excited to have him as our final speaker.
Thanks for inviting me. I am going to talk more about the new home world for the most part, but also there's going to be a lot of overlapping to the existing home world. I think where most of the interest is, and also we talk about mortgage rates and like I think you have up there. But mainly, my main focus really is going to be just on the cost of the slowdown. Everybody's talking about what I'm talking about here. Can you hear me okay, by the way? This is what's been going on these last 6 months or so, because it really is a severe slowdown, and it's been more severe in the Bay Area than it has here. I'll talk about that a little bit. So first things first, some of the reasons mortgage rates, and Ryan mentioned that as well. We've had very low mortgage rates for a long time now. This is national, by the way. We got very fat and happy with cheap money. Historically, it's maybe 6% or so is a normal mortgage rate. We think maybe that's 5.5%. By the way, we just changed our projection for what a normal mortgage rate is. So mortgage rates got back up into the 5% territory, and it absolutely slowed the market. It's absolutely a big part of the market, a big part of the reason that things got slow. It's not the only reason at all, but it's absolutely critical. It just made an already very unaffordable world even more unaffordable. And it scared a lot of folks. Typically, when mortgage rates are on the rise, they actually pop a few folks off the fence briefly, but then the fact that your monthly payment is now more, and in some cases dramatically more, then you get scared right back over the fence. Is that the thing, by the way? Is that the saying? Let's start that. Scared over the fence. So affordability, though, that's the key here, I think. If I had to pick one reason, one clear cause of why things went a little bit south here in the last half of the year, and we'll talk about January in a minute, but I completely agree with Ryan that January so far has been a clear uptick in the markets. And by the way, I'd argue you can't really see it there. Let me go backwards. You can't really see it there, but at the very tail end of that, you do have, right here, you do have the mortgage decrease that we've seen very recently, and that absolutely has had an effect. Again, I'm in the new home world. My day-to-day is there. We've absolutely seen the lower mortgage rates down to 4.5 or so, 4.5 plus. Again, pushing folks off the fence in these last 2, 3, 4 weeks, and get some folks back into the sales offices and buy homes again. But affordability. Our affordability measure, let me explain the methodology first. And by the way, I'll be glad to shoot me an email or give me a card or something like that, and I will share these slides. We do affordability based on MSA. Super busy slide here. I fully own that. What we do here, what it shows though, is that the key is that black line in the middle. Our index is a 0 to 10 scale, 10 being not affordable, unaffordable, and 0 being highly affordable by the measure of that MSA, by the internal metrics within that MSA. So right now, even places like San Francisco and the East Bay and San Jose are extraordinarily unaffordable, even by their long-term norms. Okay? Here in Sacramento, we're over that 5 point, which is in 5, think of as the median. The long-term norm is really represented by that 5.0. So we're relatively unaffordable here, but not to the degree, and I think yellow is a Stockton, so that's San Joaquin County, by the way. And these are all the MSA level. We're not as unaffordable as folks are in the Bay, which is a big reason why you have that big area buyer augmentation we all are familiar with, and it's a pretty important part of our market. Here, another thing though, speaking of the Bay Area buyers, maybe only 15% of those folks of our purchases are from the Bay Area. That's still a pretty important augmentation to our market. Think of places like Elk Grove, I guess West Sacramento, Newtomas, and then for more well-heeled Bay Area buyer, places like El Dorado Hills or Rockland or something like that. That's a pretty important part of the buyer landscape here in Greater Sacramento. They are relatively affluent. They can afford more. They are often all cash buyers. They spend like crazy on options and upgrades, which new home builders love and eat up. They know what they want and they're willing to pay for it. They've been hit hard. They've been scared, and they've pulled back big time back in the Bay Area. But they still see Sacramento as a very, very relatively affordable option. Where again, that hovel in San Jose that they bought 30 years ago, that's now $1.4 million, is they can buy 3 homes. So the stock market, sorry, let me go back to that. So the reason I'm showing that is because those folks are super attuned to stocks. It doesn't even have to be tech stocks. These are the 5 biggest tech stocks in the country, and you see how they've lost a lot of their value over these last several months. I think these were polled about a week ago, so they might be a little old. I don't think anything major has happened. But this definitely affects those Bay Area buyers. This affects their psychology. And again, we've noticed that they'll even pull back when stocks take a downturn that are not tech stocks. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when that happened, you see the short-term pullback because the cashing out their stock is everything for most of those folks. It's not just the equity. For the younger buyers there, the folks working at these tech companies, being able to cash out. We literally hear from a lot of our builder clients in the Bay Area that, hey, that down payment I was going to pay that when I signed the contract 6 months ago, that's gone. I've lost 20% of, not Amazon's a bad example, but the one not here. I've lost 22% because I work at Netflix. So I can't do it. We've got to redo that. I'm going to can. So we have seen a pullback in the Bay Area buyer based on the stock market and the techs. Employment growth, though, is still pretty good. It's not spectacular here in Sacramento, and yeah, it is here a mostly middle-income kind of profile, but still, the Bay Area, that fundamental job growth that they're experiencing there, and income growth as well, is still pretty solid, so let's not forget that. You are hearing more people get really worried about that. Remember last time in the dot-com bust? Remember, I can't think of it, but they did everything, if you put the word .com at the end of it, you were a viable option, some VC person's gonna get a lot of money you never should have had, you burned through that and you went away. Shop.com, whatever, I can't think of some of the dumb ones. Pets.com, wait, is that a real thing? So, if not, no. It's trademark. What's happening now, though, is that you are seeing some of those, the Googles and the Netflix, those folks, they're making a lot of money now. That's different than last time, right? That's positive. But there is a lot of that VC for some folks. I won't name, I can think of 2 or 3 off the top of my head, but I won't name them. But I did that once in a speech, and the head of that company was there. It was in San Francisco. It was a great day for me. He was pissed. So what's happening is that the stocks will, they're losing their value, and they are a little bit worried about cashing out. I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, anyway, so employment growth is still pretty solid. Let's talk about price. So here's my argument about what's happening right now, the slowdown. I think that other than affordability, which is a real thing, its actual price, it makes things less affordable. It scares buyers, or just simply prices buyers out of the market. That's a big part of what's happening here in these last 6 months. But a lot of it's psychological. It has to be, right? We've had high prices for a while now, relatively high and rising prices for quite some time, right? But what's happening here is a little more psychological. Is that, are we at a peak, right? Don't buyers, home buyers, kind of want to time the market to some degree? Absolutely, I think. And home buyers these days are particularly savvy, more so than I think they have been in past generations. They have access to more data and faster data and more real-time data than they ever had before. And they're a lot more analytical. They know how to use it, especially in the new home sector. So, like in the Bay Area, to a certain degree here in Sacramento too, they're engineers, and they're used to doing spreadsheets and analyzing things. So they're doing that now when they're buying a home too. So they're very sophisticated, and they're thinking. So was it Ryan talked about this lack of urgency in the market among buyers? Absolutely. I think all of a sudden, I remember doing studies in early 18 where we had overbids in places like Sunnyvale and North San Jose, a pretty pretty part of North San Jose. These new home communities were getting overbids. That is, they say, oh, this townhouse is advertised at $1,050,000, right? Every buyer knew you had to bid $1,150,000 if you had any chance for $1,250,000. If you had any chance of getting it. The townhomes in North San Jose, by the way, in not a great area. That went away almost overnight. Even in places like Mountain View and Sunnyvale. Don't get me wrong, they're still selling extraordinarily high-priced homes. but there's not that frenzy, that urgency, that frenzy, that overbid. They're doing fake premiums, right? So premiums are things like oversized lots or an end unit or something like that, right? They were doing things with essentially everything's a $70,000 premium. Well, that's not a premium. That's a price increase, and they were disguised price increases effectively. Same thing for the overbids, but you don't have to put that on the price sheet. And it's probably a good thing because now what's happening very quickly is that went away, that urgency or that frenzy went away, and that's the first thing that goes away. Those fake premiums, gone. They're gone. And before, you don't want to lower prices, obviously, so you get rid of premiums, or you lower premiums, or you start offering free incentives, or you do some 2-1 buy downs or something like that. That's what's going on right now in the new home world. You're seeing that. You're seeing incentivizing based on mostly, the vast majority are things like options and upgrades, premiums go away. We are starting to see them more, and we have in the last few months, more outright price increases. I think you'll see more of those, in part because they should have done those 2-3 months ago, but they wanted to protect their backlog and not get cancellations. When those guys came in and say, wait, now it's $30,000 less than I paid a month ago, give me that deal or I can. They made sure those closed, and now you start to see some more price increases, so I think we'll see that. But still, to a certain extent, let me show you existing home prices here too, in these MSAs. So again, you see the same idea. There's a regional difference going on here, and this is why I think we are seeing a greater slowdown in the Bay Area than we are here in Sacramento. I know it's been painful here. I know you do feel the slowdown, but trust me, it's worse in the Bay Area. Some of those submarkets came to a screeching halt, and they're still very, very slow. And I think this is one of the main reasons, is that those sophisticated buyers feel like, if you're in San Francisco, and that's the MSA, by the way, the San Jose MSA, you know you're past the peak. You know this is not, that if you're in Sacramento or Stockton, you don't know, you're not so sure. So that seems that you don't have as big a psychological hurdle as those Bay Area buyers too. And theoretically, once they get comfortable, if the stock market sort of stays okay and the economy keeps going okay, those Bay Area buyers will be a little less spooked about their stock options and just the basis for their wealth, and they'll come back here too and continue to augment. I would argue, very importantly, augment our market here. Let's see here. I'll go through this real quick. Some things that oops. Oh God. There's animation. I didn't know that. So thanks, Mike, for doing animation I wasn't aware of. So. These are kind of things that are bolstering our market right now. We have pretty solid job growth and anything growth. We have had this kind of bounce back in January due to interest rates. I would argue due to interest rates lowering here from about late December or so. You can see them creep up. It really, I think, honestly, a lot of the slowdown really did track mortgage rates, and it's tracking mortgage rates again. So affordability, mortgage rates, and psychology are the three probably biggest factors for the slowdown. And those things, we'll see what happens with those things going forward. There's still good household formation, right? This is echo boom, these millennials. They are buying homes. They're doing it. Millennials do everything that other folks did, that previous cohorts and generations did, they just do them later, right? Because they are texting more, and they're playing for it now. But eventually they'll get around to getting on Tinder, getting a girlfriend or boyfriend, and getting married and having kids, and those are the things that push you out to do things like eventually buy a home, right? So they're doing those things, but they are absolutely doing it later. I mean, consistently, you look at it, we do a lot of demographics in our shop, and we can, on any metric you can think of, you'll see that the younger generations do things later on everything. Have kids, get married, etc., but they do them. So supply is still constrained. I'd argue two things are different now. Old days of the really, really sharp 2000s, really for Sacramento, it's late 2005 when I realized things had changed. But really in 2006, 7, 8, when things were going downhill fast, and then beyond, you had oversupply. We don't have that now. You had oversupply in the supply part of the equation, and you had over-demand, for lack of a better term, on the demand part of the equation through those ginned up fake loans, stated income and stuff like that, right? That has mostly gone away. The supply, we're much more constrained in terms of supply than we were back then. Almost every market is. So that's, in terms of firming up the market, firming up things like prices, if that's what you want to see happen. Clearly some people don't think that's what we want to see happen. Then those are good signs, right? Those are advantages we have now. By the way, you also still see, we can make the argument that some of the outlying areas, secondary and tertiary markets, tend to falter more quickly and more severely than core markets, right next to job centers, and that certainly happened for sure in a big way in the last downturn. You could argue, though, that the price delta between core areas and outlying areas, like think of Midtown Sacramento or something like that, a Land Park, or some Rancho Cordova or something like that. The price delta is much bigger now than it was historically, say 1980 through 2005 or 6 or 7. At that point, during the early part of the downturn, you saw that price difference just mushroom. So that push factor is still there in terms of price, and that's a big reason, by the way, again, not to harp on it, for Bay Area demand here in Sacramento. Regionally, it's a huge price difference for those guys. Oh, I better hurry. Age qualified, we think might be a little more. Yeah, I'm going to do this because this is more what new home folks are doing, right? But here, these last three, though, I think impact the existing home market as well. When the buyers who have options lack the urgency and are going to sit on the sidelines, to the best extent you can, focus on those folks who need to move. Their family's expanding, they're having more kids, or they're getting married or unmarried, their job is changing, the unmarried part, right? Divorcees. Not to be ghoulish, but get to know a divorce lawyer, maybe. I'm just saying, be friendly behind the beer. And when they have a divorce, maybe you gotta lead. Just be creative. So, but there are households that kind of need to move more so than have the option to move. And when things are in flux right now, especially when it's like the market's kind of somewhat frozen a little bit, because that's kind of what's happened in the last 6 months. These folks are not a bad idea to rely on. Here's another thing I want to say. I did this speech originally for new home audience, right? But it applies to an existing home audience, I would argue. For the new home builders, what they need to do is continue to upgrade and make their product, their homes, more dynamic, more new, more innovative. They're doing smart home stuff and tech stuff. Well, I would say that's true for the existing home buyers as well. Because a lot of the stuff you can do, like smart home type stuff, there's no reason you can't retrofit an existing home. It doesn't have to be within a brand new construction home. It can be done. And more buyers, especially younger buyers, they not just want that smart home kind of technology stuff, they are going to require that stuff. Alexa is their best friend. So, our Google Home, whatever brand it is. And that's about it, because this last stuff here is really actually more in terms of new home. I have to do my otherwise my boss will hurt me, but I do a podcast for John Burns, Real Estate Consulting. We do it every 2 weeks. It's called New Home Insights. Find it on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And please give a listen. But it is in the new home sector, but it gets a lot of overlap. In fact, today I'm doing a podcast with someone who's going to talk about social media and outreach to younger buyers through social media, which I think applies to everyone. That's it.